Play 10, we're going to look at equations and formulas now. Now, you've actually done formulas before, so this should seem very familiar. Now, formula is an equation that describes a relationship between variables. So if you think about some of the basic ones, area of a triangle is a half times the base times the height. That's the formula. Okay, now the letter by itself there, we call that the subject of the formula. All right, because it's all by itself. You've only got one letter there by itself. Okay, now here's another example. The perimeter of a rectangle. P equals 2 brackets L plus W, where P is the perimeter, L is the rectangle's length, and W is the rectangle's width. Okay, now let's have a look at the first example. The cost C in dollars of hiring a taxi is 5 plus 2.4D, where D is the distance travelled in kilometres. Find the cost of a taxi trip if the distance is 15 kilometres. Okay, so not much to do here. It's just a straight substitution. So 5 plus 2.4 times 12. Answer should be in dollars. C for cost. Get your calculator out. Okay, $33.80. Okay. All right, second part of the question. Find the distance travelled by the taxi if the cost of the trip was $78.20. So this number here is the cost. So with our formula, we're going to replace so write your formula down first. So they give you the cost in this case, and they want you to find out what D is. Okay, so $78.20 equals 5 plus 2.4D. Okay, now we've got to solve that equation. So first thing first, I'm going to get rid of any term which is by itself, which is the 5 there. So minus 5, both sides. That's going to give you $73.20 equals 2.4D. Okay, now next step, we're going to get the D by itself. So we're going to divide by 2.4, divide by 2.4, and then you've got D is equal to, all right, let's work it out, 73.2 divided by 2.4, 30.5. Now it's not dollars, of course, is it? What are the units? Look back in the question, it should be kilometres. Okay, now what I'd like you to do is to make sure you've copied all that down, including the heading and the working out into your book. And let's look at the next example. Okay, so you've got the surface area. Let's change colours for a minute. The surface area of a sphere is given by the formula A equals 4 pi r squared, where r is the radius. Find correct to one decimal place the surface area of a sphere. So the first question, very straightforward. They just want you to substitute the radius of 2.8 centimeters in there. So you've got 4 pi multiplied by 2.8 squared. So put that into your calculator. Now 4 shift pi times 2.8 squared, it's 98.5. 98.5. Now it is area and it is centimeters. So the unit should be centimeters squared. Now, next part says find the radius of the sphere, given that the surface area is 40 meters squared. So they tell you what the area is, and they want you to find the radius. Okay, so they tell you the area is 40, so replace the A with 40, and this is 4 pi multiplied by r squared. Okay, now what we can do in one go is just get rid of that 4 pi straight away. Divided by 4 pi. So that cancels with that. I'll just draw a little divider here. Now, what does that give us? That gives us r squared is equal to 40 on 4 pi. Now, I'm not going to calculate what 40 divided by 4 pi is yet. I will in a second. Now, I need to get the r by itself. So I want to know what r is equal to. R is equal to something. To get rid of that squared term here, I will have to square root. So I've got to square root the whole thing. And normally you would put plus or minus there because we know when we square root, we've got to put a plus or minus. But because we know radius is always positive, there is no need to do that. You just leave it as a positive. Okay, now the square root cancels out the power of 2, so it gives you the r. And it does it say to one decimal place? It doesn't actually. So we're going to write down 2 answers here because the question doesn't specify. Now, that's the square root there. And I'm just going to simplify this a little bit. This will be 20 over 2 pi. Actually, we can do better than that still, can't we? Well, 40 over 4 is the same as 10, isn't it? So we can write this as 10 over pi. Now that is the exact answer. That's the exact radius. Most questions will ask, what is the radius to correct to one decimal place? So if you did that, just get your calculator out, find the square root of 10 over pi, and you'll get 1.8 to one decimal place. So to one decimal place, radius is 1.8, and it should be meters. That should be meters there as well. Okay, use the approximation sign. Right, so what I'd like you to do then is you can do 605. So exercise 605, and you can do questions 1 to 12, but every second one. Okay, so you can do 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11.